I moved into the apartment in late November. It was the top floor of a 4-story walk-up, tucked away on a quiet street just outside the city center. The rent was surprisingly cheap, which the landlord attributed to age and atmosphere. He called it character. I called it a steal. The place was small, but cozy. 1 bedroom, a tiny galley kitchen, and a narrow window that overlooked the alley below. The walls were a little scuffed, and the ceiling had water stains in the corners, but I didn't care. I was just glad to finally have a space to myself after years of sharing. What really sold me on the unit was the quiet. No neighbors above me, no one stomping around at odd hours. The building only had 4 floors, and I was on the 4th. The stairwell ended at my door. There was nothing above me. Or at least, there wasn't supposed to be. The first time I heard the footsteps, it was around 2 a.m. I had just turned off the TV and was brushing my teeth when something creaked overhead. At first, I assumed it was just the building settling old pipes, wind against the roof, whatever. But then it happened again. And again. Heavy, deliberate footsteps, crossing from one side of my ceiling to the other. I froze, toothbrush still in my mouth, eyes darting upward like I could somehow see through the plaster. Someone was walking above me. I laughed it off at first. Maybe there was attic access I didn't know about. Maybe a raccoon got in. But over the next few nights, it kept happening. Dragging noises. Thumps. The sound of something scraping against the floor. I asked the landlord about it the next time I saw him. "Above you that's not possible," he said, frowning. "There's no 5th floor. Just insulation and beams. You've got the top unit, remember?" "Maybe someone got into the attic," I offered. He shook his head. "There's no attic access from inside the building. Just roof panels, and those are sealed." I didn't press him further, but the look he gave me lingered. Not annoyed. Not dismissive. Almost worried. Things got worse after that. The noises became more frequent and louder. Every night around 2 or 3 a.m. like clockwork, I'd hear furniture moving above me. A dragging sound, like a heavy dresser being pulled across wood floors. Then the footsteps. Slow. Pacing. Sometimes they'd stop right above where I was sleeping, and I could swear I felt a faint vibration in the ceiling, like someone shifting their weight. I started recording the sounds on my phone. When I played them back the next day, I'd hear it clearly: distinct footsteps, the creak of floorboards, even an occasional thud, like something falling over. I played one of the recordings for my coworker, but she just shrugged. "Old buildings are weird," she said. "Probably rats. Or your neighbors next door." But I knew what I was hearing. And it wasn't next door. It was above me. One night, I decided to knock on the ceiling. I waited until the sounds started faint scraping, pacing back and forth, then grabbed the handle of my broom and gave 3 solid bangs on the ceiling above my bed. The noise stopped. For a second, I felt foolish. But then, 3 knocks came back. Not random. Not muffled building sounds. Clear, deliberate knocks right above me. I didn't sleep that night. About a week later, I noticed a small water stain forming in the far corner of my ceiling. It grew quickly over the next couple days, darkening at the edges. Eventually, it started dripping. Slow at first, then steady. I called the landlord. He showed up with a ladder and a flashlight, muttering about the damn winter weather and how the roof must be leaking again. He climbed up and started poking at the ceiling tile with a screwdriver. That's when something strange happened. He stopped. Mid-prodding. Just froze, staring at the corner of the ceiling with a look I didn't understand at first, part confusion, part alarm. "What is it?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he muttered, This doesn't make sense," and jabbed the tile again. It gave way. A chunk of plaster broke loose and fell, revealing a gap just big enough to peek through. The smell hit us immediately: stale air, mold, something like old paper and rot. He pulled out his flashlight, stood on the top rung of the ladder, and shone it into the gap. He was silent for a long time. Then he slowly climbed down, face pale. "I need to get someone," he said. He left. I never saw him again. His phone went straight to voicemail. The office closed early the next day. After a few more attempts, I gave up trying to reach him. The leak stopped on its own. But something else changed. Now I hear more than footsteps. Sometimes, breathing. Late at night, when the room is still and I've convinced myself it's just my imagination, I'll hear it again. Shallow. Steady. Right above me. Like someone lying just inches above the ceiling. Listening. A few days ago, I bought a cheap inspection camera with a flexible cable. I don't know what I was hoping to prove. Maybe I needed to see it with my own eyes to believe I wasn't losing my mind. I climbed up with a flashlight and made a small hole near the leaking corner. I fed the camera in slowly. At first, I saw only dust and wooden beams. Then the image shifted. I saw a room. Not insulation. Not ductwork. A room. Small. Low-ceilinged. Lined with old wooden furniture. A table. A chair. And on the far wall, photos. I tilted the camera to get a better view. They were photos of me. Sleeping. Cooking. Watching TV. Some of them were taken from strange angles above my bed, near my bathroom mirror. But the one that made me nearly drop the camera was one of me, sitting at my desk. That same day. Wearing the same shirt. Facing the camera. I haven't gone back up since. The noises continue. Now at different times, sometimes just after sunset, sometimes before dawn. Always moving, always just barely out of reach. I've stopped telling people. No one believes me. I tried calling the city about building records. According to the permit office, there's no 5th floor. No crawl space. No attic. Nothing should be up there. But I know what I saw. I know what I heard. And last night, when I came home from work, my apartment door was unlocked. Nothing was missing. But on my pillow, right in the center, was a photo of me, taken from above, while I slept. I was doing a favor for a friend. Becca and I have known each other since college. When her usual sitter cancelled last minute, she begged me to step in for the weekend. Her job had her out of town until late Sunday night, and she didn't want to cancel the trip. I didn't have much planned anyway, so I agreed. Her house was a quiet little place in the suburbs, neatly fenced yard, soft yellow siding, and the kind of stillness you only notice once you're inside, sitting alone, and the HVAC clicks off. Her son, Owen, was 6. Sweet kid, kind of quiet. The type who spoke in short, careful sentences like he was afraid of saying too much. He liked dinosaurs and hated peas. Becca had already put him to bed by the time I arrived Friday night, so the house was still and dark when I settled into the guest room. That's when I found the notebook. It was on the bedside table. Nothing remarkable, a simple black and white composition book, like the kind kids used in elementary school. I assumed it was Owen's, until I opened it and read the first page. Babysitter log July 11, 2013. But this wasn't 2013. It was 2023. And I hadn't even been to this house before. Curious, I flipped to the next page. July 11, 2013, 9 p.m. Put Owen to bed. He asked about the attic door again. Told him it's locked, same as last time. He keeps saying someone talks to him from up there. We'll bring it up with Becca tomorrow. Okay, I thought. Maybe it was an old journal from a previous sitter Becca had used. Strange to leave it out, but not impossible. I skimmed through a few more entries. July 12, 2013, 1:15 a.m. Heard footsteps above the guest room again. I checked the attic door, still locked. Nothing else in the hallway. The house feels off tonight. Weird. I shut the notebook and put it back. Didn't think much more of it. The next morning, Owen was quiet at breakfast. He stared at his cereal, only speaking when I asked him a direct question. You doing okay, bud? I asked. He nodded. Sleep okay? He hesitated. Then looked at the ceiling. She watches me sometimes, he said. I froze. Who does? He shrugged. The other girl. That was all he said. Later that day, while Owen was napping, I found myself drawn back to the notebook. It was still where I'd left it. I opened to the middle and started reading again. July 13, 2013, 3 p.m. Owen napped longer than usual. I kept checking in on him. His breathing seemed too still. Every time I entered the room, he'd be fine. But when I left, the baby monitor made this static crackling noise. Not sure if it's interference or something else. The hair on my arms stood up. Because I had checked on Owen during his nap. He had been lying perfectly still, face toward the wall. And yes, the baby monitor had been crackling the whole time I stood in the hallway. I flipped back to the front cover. There was a name scribbled in fading blue ink, Marissa J. I didn't know a Marissa, and I definitely didn't know why her 10-year-old babysitting notes seemed to match what I was doing. That night, I slept lightly. I kept the notebook on the nightstand. Around 2:30 a.m. I woke to the sound of soft footsteps. Upstairs. Except there was no upstairs. Just the attic above the guest room. I stayed frozen in bed, heart thudding. And then I heard a voice. A child's whisper. Right above me. Don't let her see you. I didn't sleep after that. When the sun came up, I made coffee and tried to pretend it had been a dream. Maybe it was the quiet, or the way the old house settled at night. But then Owen came to the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. He climbed onto a stool, looked at me, and said, "You're not the same one." "What do you mean?" "She's different now," he mumbled. "But she still writes in the book." I waited until Owen was busy with his toys and returned to the guest room. Opened the notebook again. There was a new entry. One I hadn't seen before. July 15, 2013, 7:20 a.m. I found the journal again. I'm writing this as if I don't already know what's going to happen. Maybe this time will be different. Maybe this version of me can break the loop. If you're reading this, wake Owen before she does. I dropped the book. The date July 15 was today. I hadn't written that. I didn't even recognize the handwriting. And yet, I knew the way the pen curled the G and the loop in the Y. It looked like mine. I ran to check on Owen. He was in his room, safe, watching a video on the tablet. "Hey," I said, kneeling beside him, "can I ask you something?" He paused the video. "Okay. Have you had other babysitters?" He nodded. "Do you remember them?" He hesitated. "Sometimes. But only in dreams." I felt a cold weight settle in my chest. "What do you mean?" He looked me in the eyes. "They always come back. But they don't remember." That night, I didn't sleep at all. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the notebook. The way it described everything before it happened. Around 3 a.m. I cracked and opened it again. There was another entry waiting. July 16, 2013, 3:02 a.m. She's almost here. I don't know what she is. A memory, a copy. I tried to stop her once. That version of me didn't make it out. If you're reading this, don't listen when she knocks. Don't open the attic door. Something creaked overhead. I held my breath. Then came the knock. 3 soft taps, directly above the bed. Not at the door. At the ceiling. I left before dawn. Packed a bag, scooped up Owen, and drove him to his grandmother's house across town. Didn't he explain much, just said Becca could pick him up there when she got back. When I returned to the house later to grab the rest of my things, the notebook was gone. No sign of it. Just a faint black smudge on the nightstand where it had been. Becca never asked why I left. She didn't even seem surprised. She just said thanks, gave me a hug, and said Owen had been quieter than usual. I haven't been back, but I can't shake the feeling that I've done all of this before. And sometimes, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I swear I hear it again. The crackle of a baby monitor I no longer own. And the soft sound of pen on paper. As if someone, somewhere, is still writing this story. I bought the phone from a guy on Craigslist. It was a decent deal, an older Android model, but barely used. I needed a backup phone for work stuff, and this one was cheap enough. He met me in a Target parking lot, handed it over in the original box, and said something I didn't really catch as I was checking for cracks. I think it was something like, "It still wakes up sometimes," but I wasn't paying attention. I should have been. The first night, I didn't even touch the phone. I left it powered off on my desk, still sealed in the box. The next morning, when I walked past it, the screen was on. Just the lock screen. No SIM card, no Wi-Fi. Time and date correct. Battery at 94%. I thought I must have accidentally hit the power button when I moved something on the desk. Didn't think much of it. That night, I powered it down again. Made sure it was off, no lights, no screen, nothing. I even pulled out the battery, just to be sure. The next morning the phone was on again. Sitting upright. Screen glowing softly like it had just been touched. Battery back in. Power restored. I live alone. I assumed I was being paranoid. Maybe I forgot I turned it back on. Maybe I left the battery in. So I paid attention the next time. Thursday night, I left it on the kitchen counter, battery removed. I took a photo on my main phone to document it just in case I was losing it. Went to bed. At 12:07 a.m. I heard a soft ding from the kitchen. Like a notification sound. I got up, slowly. The lights were off. The only glow came from the kitchen, a faint bluish hue reflecting off the counter. The phone was on. Battery inside. Screen unlocked. And the camera app was open. I felt cold all over. I checked my photo from earlier, battery wasn't inside when I left it. I should have thrown the phone away right then. Instead, I convinced myself there was some kind of magnetic contact or glitch. I reset it to factory settings. Deleted all the apps, wiped the cache, removed permissions, even disabled voice activation. I powered it off, placed it inside a drawer, and didn't touch it the rest of the day. That night, around midnight, I woke up to a vibration near my bed. The phone was on my nightstand. I hadn't put it there. The next day, I downloaded a file explorer and dug into the system files. That's when I found them, a folder labeled rec_voices hidden deep inside the storage. Dozens of audio files. Most of them labeled by date and time. The earliest one was from the night I brought the phone home. I hesitated before playing it. It was a recording of me breathing. I could hear the faint rustle of bed sheets, my own quiet exhales, the occasional cough. But then another voice. Soft. Whispering something under the breath. Unclear. I played more of the files. Same thing. Me sleeping. The soft sound of my voice talking in my sleep. Except I don't talk in my sleep. I never have. And the things I was saying didn't sound like me. She's still under the floor. The door is gone again. No, I don't remember yet. Please stop asking. One recording had me laughing. Another had me saying the word mirror 12 times, slowly, each repetition more distorted than the last. I couldn't listen to all of them. It started to make me feel sick, like my head was buzzing from the inside. Then I found the newest one. Timestamped just a few hours earlier. I hit play. At first, just the familiar sound of breathing. Then my voice, groggy, distant, is it tonight? Then something else. A second voice. Not mine. Lower. Too close to the microphone. Almost like it was whispering directly into the speaker. He's getting close. He almost remembers. I shut the phone off and threw it across the room. The next morning, it was back on. Lying on the pillow next to mine. Screen glowing softly. One new file in the recording folder. rec_voices_0317_03:12.wave. I didn't open it. I left the apartment for the day. Took the phone with me, dumped it into a public trash can near the train station. Then I changed the locks on my front door. When I got home that night, I checked every drawer, every closet, under every piece of furniture. Nothing. I went to bed finally feeling like I'd gotten rid of it. Until 12:03 a.m. when I felt something buzz against my thigh. I reached into my pocket. The phone was back. There was a new notification, one new voice recording available. I didn't touch it. I turned on every light in the apartment, sat in the kitchen until sunrise. The next morning, I drove 2 towns over and tried to leave the phone in a river. Watched it sink. It was gone. That night, I used an old flip phone. No apps, no voice assistants. Just a keypad. I slept with the lights on. Still, at exactly 12:06 a.m. I woke up. Not from a sound. Not from a dream. From a voice, inches from my ear. Put it back in your hand. There was nothing there. Until I sat up. The phone was sitting on my chest. This time, the screen didn't even need to unlock. It just played. One final recording. Do you see it now? You were never meant to leave. You're the one who started the recordings. We only ever helped you remember. Then, my own voice calm, steady, not sleepy at all. I think I'm ready now. I don't fight it anymore. Every night, I wake at 12:06. I hold the phone in my hand. I speak into it, even if I don't know what I'm going to say. The voice always answers. Sometimes familiar. Sometimes not. But it always ends the same way. With that last whisper. He's almost home. Every weekday, I take the same route to work. Left out of my building, 2 blocks past the gas station, then right down Maplewood Avenue until I hit the underpass. I've driven that stretch so many times I could do it blindfolded. I know every crack in the pavement, every flickering street lamp. And I've always known the yellow house. It sits just before the turn, slightly set back from the street, half hidden behind an overgrown hedge and a collapsing chain-link fence. Paint peeling, windows dusty. The kind of house you stop seeing after a while. Just another piece of the background. Until I started noticing the figure in the window. At first, I thought I imagined it. It was a Tuesday, I think. I was running late, and as I slowed to make the usual turn, something in my peripheral vision pulled at me. Movement. I glanced up and saw it, a silhouette, sitting still in the second-floor window. It didn't move. Didn't wave or turn its head. Just sat there, in a patch of yellow-gray morning light. Watching. I told myself it was a mannequin. Or maybe a shadow. Old houses are full of weird angles and junk left behind. I kept driving. But the next morning, the figure was still there. Same window. Same position. Except this time, the head was turned slightly toward me. Not much. Just enough to make it unmistakably human. I tried to be rational. Maybe someone had moved in. Maybe a squatter. Still creepy, but not supernatural. Not unexplainable. I told myself I'd stop worrying if it was still there by Friday. It was. By the end of the week, I found myself looking for it on purpose. Every time I passed, my eyes darted toward that window. The figure never waved. Never shifted. It just sat there, watching, until Sunday morning. That's when it was gone. I don't know why it unsettled me so much. But the absence of the figure felt worse than its presence. Like when you lose track of a spider in your bedroom. On Monday, it was back. Only this time, the curtain was slightly pulled back, as if someone wanted a clearer view of me. And that night, when I got home and plugged in my phone, I found a new folder in my Photos app unlabeled. Buried beneath screenshots and random images. It held 5 photos. Each one taken from inside the yellow house, looking out. All from the same second-floor window. And every photo showed me, walking past. I stared at them for what felt like hours. I never took these. There was no metadata, no timestamp, nothing to tell me when or how they were taken. But the clothes matched. The weather matched. The angle perfectly from inside the house. The worst part, in one of them, I was looking directly at the window. Like I knew I was being watched. I didn't sleep much that night. I kept checking the camera folder, hoping they'd vanish. Or prove to be some kind of glitch. A prank. Anything other than what they were. But they didn't vanish. In fact, the next morning, there were more. 3 new photos. Again, from the inside. Again, of me, but in one of them, I wasn't alone. Behind me, just barely visible, stood a figure. Blurry. Distant. But definitely there. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to sound insane. Instead, I drove a different way to work the next day. Added 15 minutes to my commute. Avoided Maplewood entirely. And that worked. For one day. On Wednesday morning, I walked out to my car and found a folded Polaroid tucked under the windshield wiper. It was me. Standing outside the yellow house. Looking up at the window. Except I never went there. I never stood there. But in the photo, I was smiling. Something about that image unhinged me. Not the fact that it existed, but the expression on my face. It didn't feel like a smile I'd ever made. It looked off. Like a copy of me trying to mimic something it didn't understand. Like I wasn't the one in control. I drove straight to the yellow house. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to confront it. Maybe I thought if I just saw the truth with my own eyes, the fear would lose its grip. I parked across the street, engine running. The windows were empty. Curtains pulled shut. No sign of life. I approached the fence, half expecting someone to burst out and scream at me. But the yard was silent. No birds. No wind. Just the dull hum of my heartbeat. I walked to the porch, the wood sagging beneath each step. Tried the door. Unlocked. Inside, the air was stale. Heavy with dust and something faintly sweet, like decayed flowers. I moved slowly, calling out, hello, more to myself than anyone else. The house was empty. No furniture. No lights. Just blank walls and pale yellow wallpaper curling at the seams. I made my way upstairs, each creak of the stairs loud in the stillness. Second door on the left. The window room. I opened the door. The air felt cold inside. And in the center of the room, facing the window, was a wooden chair. Empty. No figure. No shadow. Just the chair. And taped to the wall beside it. Dozens of photos. All of me. Some from weeks ago. Some from years ago. Me at the grocery store. Me at a movie theater. Me sleeping in my bed. And in each one, a date scrawled in ink. All leading up to today's date. Under today's photo, window. I ran. Didn't stop until I was back in my car, doors locked, engine shaking from how hard I turned the key. I haven't driven that road since. But sometimes I still check the Photos app. And some nights late, when I can't sleep, I'll find new images. Always grainy. Always from the same angle. Looking out from the yellow house. But now, they show something different. A window. An empty road. And no one walking past. Because now, I'm inside the house. And I think someone else is walking by. I rented the unit in the spring of 2022. Nothing unusual about it. A climate-controlled self-storage facility just off the highway, sterile white hallways, keypads at every corner, security cameras blinking lazily from the ceiling. My apartment was getting cluttered, and I had some old boxes from my parents' place to store, so I signed a 6-month lease for Unit 108. It was small. 10 by 10 feet. Cement floor, corrugated walls, overhead light that buzzed faintly when you pulled the chain. I dropped off a few sealed boxes, some old photo albums, a lamp I didn't use anymore. That was it. I was sure of it. The next time I came back, maybe a month later, the unit felt different. The light was already on when I opened the roll-up door. That was weird. I always turned it off before I left. I figured maybe I forgot. Or someone else had accessed it somehow. But nothing seemed missing. In fact, there was something extra. A framed photo sitting atop one of the sealed boxes. It was of me. Smiling. Standing next to a woman I didn't recognize. I picked it up. Heart pounding. We were on a beach, wind in our hair, sunglasses on. I looked happy, too happy. Like someone had asked me to smile and I was trying just a little too hard. The frame was old and wooden, painted sky blue. I had never seen this photo before. I texted my sister. Sent her a picture of it. She replied, "Is that Megan? Wow. Haven't seen that one in forever." Megan, your ex from like 2017, you brought her to Mom's birthday that year, remember? No, I didn't. I had no memory of anyone named Megan. Definitely didn't remember any beach trip. I went home and tore through my photo folders. Google Drive. Old USBs. Facebook albums. Nothing. No photos of Megan. No mentions. Not even one comment. But I kept the framed photo anyway. Just in case. 2 weeks later, I went back to the unit to drop off some books. I unlocked the door and paused. Something had changed again. There was a red sweater hanging on the hook inside the unit. A women's size, soft knit. I'd never seen it before. Folded underneath it, on top of the storage bins, was a small stack of Polaroids. More beach photos. More pictures of me and Megan. Only this time, I was the one taking them. Me behind the camera. In one, she was looking straight at me and laughing, her hair whipping in the wind. The handwriting on the back said, Carmel, September 2017. Best weekend ever. I sat down on one of the bins. My hands were shaking. What the hell was happening? I brought the Polaroids to my sister. She frowned. You seriously don't remember her? No, I said. I don't even remember this trip. You two were together for almost a year, she said. She lived with you for a while. She had that weird cat named Pepper. I helped you move her stuff out when you broke up. I stared at her. I live alone. I've always lived alone. Her face shifted slightly. No. That's not right. I started digging deeper. Old email accounts, forgotten cloud backups, somewhere there had to be a trace of this person. But every search turned up nothing. And yet, every time I went back to the storage unit, more things appeared. A mug with lipstick stains. A worn paperback with notes in the margins in my handwriting, but I don't remember writing them. A VHS tape labeled Cabin Trip 2018. I don't even own a VHS player. The walls of the unit began to feel smaller. Warmer. Familiar. Like a room I'd lived in. I tried to cancel the lease. Went to the front desk, said I wanted to terminate early and clear out my stuff. The manager, an older man with tired eyes, looked confused. You don't have a unit with us, he said. I blinked. What? You don't have an active rental? 108's been empty for months. No, I was just there. He turned the screen toward me. There was my name. Listed under closed account. Final move-out date, March 8, 2022. I stood there frozen. That was before I ever moved the boxes in. I went back anyway. Keypad still worked. The hallway was silent. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. I unlocked Unit 108. The door rolled up with a groan. Inside, not 10 square feet, but something more. The space stretched deeper than I remembered. No back wall in sight. The light didn't reach the end. There was furniture now. A couch I vaguely recognized. A rug. A painting of a forest I'd seen in a dream once. And near the center, a mirror. I walked to it slowly. My reflection stared back, slightly distorted by the glass. But behind me, in the reflection, stood Megan. I spun around. The unit was empty. No one there. When I looked back at the mirror, she was gone. But now, in her place, was a wall of photos. Me, her. Dozens of snapshots. Birthday cakes. A winter cabin. The same red sweater. In one, she was kissing me on the cheek. In another, I was holding her hand on a bridge. And behind it all, a journal. My handwriting on the front, if you forget, read this. I took it home. It's still sitting on my kitchen table. I haven't opened it. I'm afraid of what I'll find. Because every day now, I see small changes around my apartment. A second toothbrush. A pair of earrings on the dresser. A voicemail from a number I don't recognize, a woman's voice saying, "Hey babe, I'm picking up dinner. Hope you're hungry." And my phone says I saved her as M. I went back one last time. To the unit. To end it, or maybe to understand it. But 108 wasn't there. Between 107 and 109 just a blank wall. Like it never existed. Now, sometimes at night, I feel someone breathing next to me. I wake up, heart racing, but no one's there. Except, one morning, I found a note beside my bed. Handwritten. You said you'd never forget me. But you always do. Whatever storage unit 108 was. I don't think it stored my stuff. I think it stored me. A version of me that I lost. Or erased. And now, it's trying to put me back together. One memory at a time.